Welcome back, guys, to the Not Everything's Black and White podcast. Today, you know what we want to talk about. The bullshit going on.
Yeah.
Pardon my French, but things are not going as anticipated, and we promised you always, right? Like we consider ourselves a conservative platform for the most part, but our number one objective always is the truth, common sense, and talking about issues that you want to hear about and giving you a little behind the scenes. We predicted most of what's happening quite a bit of time ago. If you double back to some of our episodes talking about Iraq, Iran, previous wars, 9/11, and some of the conflicts that Israel seems to draw us into, it's things that we've already predicted. So this is more of a recap of things that we've already kind of told you that we could anticipate if things didn't go the way they were supposed to, if we didn't really stick to the America First platform. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yep.
You know, so.
Yeah, so like you said, if you would have went back, if you go back to our episode, I think it was our third episode we did, it was in July.
Yeah, really early.
We predicted a lot of this was going to occur, okay? Because that was around the time when I believe Trump bombed the nuclear sites.
Yeah.
So we were saying if this turns into something, if this escalates, you know, this is going to turn on to boots on the ground, full-blown regime change, and that's exactly what it's turned into. And it's completely disheartening, to be honest, as someone who vehemently supported Trump throughout this whole process. And don't get me wrong, I still support him. I still support a lot of things he does. 80% of the stuff domestically that he does, I support. But lately with the foreign stuff, I can't grasp it almost.
Yeah. The first year was, and the thing that makes it tough is the first year was right on cue. It was right on cue. It was the no tax on tips,
Doge, no tax on tips, Doge.
Bam. It was just,
peace deals.
Yeah, RFK was branching off.
Right. I mean, RFK's. So just to speak on RFK, I think RFK
is the only one on track.
Right. He's the vaccine schedule with the food getting healthier. They're trying to get stuff done with peptides, which I think are going to be huge for people to become healthier. Just like a bunch of stuff he's still doing, because I pay attention to a lot of that stuff because I'm into health. So a lot of stuff he's like kind of like still nailing out things, hammering things out.
Yeah, and I even saw that a lot of states, I don't know, I think it's a trickle down from the national level goals and objectives.
Taking out the dyes,
but with the food stamp program.
Oh, that too.
They're no longer allowing, which I don't really care what your opinion on is, but we shouldn't be subsidizing diabetes.
Right. Sugary food, like
sugary foods. Yeah,
they're not.
That needs to end.
They're taking that out where the food stamps are no longer be eligible for snacks.
Unhealthy products.
It's gonna be real food.
Food.
Which I don't even. That's like common sense. Why the
would
hell would we ever be subsidizing sugar, tasty cakes, and all that type of stuff, all the type of junk food? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But just to get back on topic, you know, the stuff with what's going on right now in the Middle East. This is the thing. Trump ran against this. Trump has been against this for his entire life. He was against the Iraq. I mean, Trump literally went viral. The reason why he skyrocketed up the polls in 2015 before he became president in 2016 was literally when he attacked Jeb Bush. He went at Jeb Bush and he said,
Warhawk.
He said, your family got us into the Middle East. The most disastrous thing we've ever did was going into the Middle East off a lie, weapons of mass destruction. Okay? So that was like our whole take in July when I said, we bombed these nuke sites, right? That's what I said. And I said, now, I can't just take your word for it that they had nukes, that they're building nukes, anything like that. We need to see the intel as Americans because we've been lied into war so many times, into the Middle East particularly. So why all of a sudden should I believe that Iran was 2 weeks away from a nuke? They've been saying, first of all, Bibi Netanyahu has been saying that for 40 years, that they were months away from a nuke. They're months away. They never were. So you're trying to tell me that Trump bombed the nuclear sites 8 months ago. I'm fine with that. That's fine. Okay, bombed the nuclear sites 8 months ago. And now, after 8 months, after they were bombed, somehow Iran rebuilt all that up and is weeks away from a nuke again?
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense. They've been building it supposedly for decades, and then you bomb them, and then all of a sudden they're weeks away. That's the thing. They keep changing the goalposts. It went from they're not allowed to have nukes, which, okay, you can make an argument. All right? I don't think anyone should really have nukes, really, except us. That's just me being the way I think Americanly. Like I don't know. I don't think we should. Anyone should have nukes of us.
Yeah,
Whatever.
exactly.
But unfortunately, a bunch of countries do. Israel
Yeah.
being one of them that don't even have inspections, that they don't even admit that they have. By the way, and that does. I want to clarify that too. That doesn't make me anti-Semitic. Me saying that. That's just a fact. I don't. It's not anti-Semitic. Me pointing out the truth is not anti-Semitic. I don't hate Jewish people. I don't. And any of those things. I don't hate any people.
Yeah, and I would say adversely, even that is we also don't support the regimes that have been in power in Iran, right? The suppression of free speech, the oppression of free religion, the oppression of women's rights.
Exactly.
Right? It's like so this
I don't support North Korea.
Our whole platform is not everything's black and white.
Yeah.
Our platform is America first.
Right.
So what's going on in Israel is egregious, and it's funny to see they do such a good job at suppressing media and allowing eyes in, but a lot of their people don't support it.
Yeah, no.
Right? There's people in Israel that want Bibi and Netanyahu to, because they have the same perspective as us, right? The average Israeli has the same perspective as the average citizen of any country. They want peace, they want prosperity. They don't want bombs raining in over their head, right?
Yeah. Constant conflict.
They don't want to be a soft target for World War III.
Right.
So, yeah, and that should be the perspective that we take moving forward. War and all these things have been so galvanized and people support it. Like I said, this is like way back in the day, but they support it the same way they support sports teams. And that's crazy to me. No person in any country should support war. And we definitely don't support it, especially when there's no common sense involved with it.
Right. I'm not even...
The nuclear thing, it's old. It's been ran through.
I'll tell you this. Well, that's the thing. They keep moving the goalposts. So they're not allowed to have nukes. Now they can't have uranium. Now they can't do this. They can't do... Like, there's no real end game. It's just they keep moving the goalposts to get people into war. You know what I mean? So that's what's occurred with this, I believe. Okay? And another thing that occurred with this is we just found this out that... Remember when you were seeing all the protests in Iran and supposedly looked like people wanted a regime change? I'm sure they do want a regime change. Just like I'm sure that they don't, just like in America, we don't agree with everything our politicians do, right? Just, I'm sure the Iranian...
You'd be a fool to do that.
Right. I'm sure the Iranian people want to rise up and take back the government and they want more freedom. I'm not disputing that at all. But what we did just find out was that Israel was funding the protests, okay, to make it look like there was a bigger thing happening on the ground to basically tell Trump, listen, if we just take out the Ayatollah, if we just take out the leaders of the IRGC and these generals, that it will turn into an uprising from the Iranian people. We won't have to put boots on the ground and they'll overtake their government. Yeah. That didn't happen. And the reason it didn't happen is because Israel was funding those protests. So those people were only doing it. I'm not saying they were only doing it because of that, but there was incentives. They were getting paid to do it. Okay, they were flaming, basically, flaming the fire, right? To make it look like it was more than what it was. So after the Ayatollah got killed, and mind you, that's the religious leader. This isn't just some When do we ever take
dangerous
guys,
game to play.
We never in the history take out leaders of other countries, period, because we know what it would turn into. It doesn't
radicalization.
It radicalizes the people. It doesn't make them sit back and be like, "Oh my God, yeah, let's overthrow our government now and take it back." No, dude, it literally you just radicalize. There's 90 million people in Iran. You just radicalize half of them.
It's equivalent to coming in your house and killing your dad, right?
Yeah.
And saying, he was a bad guy.
As much as
he hit your mom,
right? As much as you might not like, it's the same thing.
It doesn't really. It still has the same ramifications to it, and it still puts us in a position where it's just a dangerous game. And the problem that I really have with it is. I know Trump can only be responsible for so much. At the end of the day, he's the executive. He has executive function, and he is the one that makes the decision. But I really think that he's being sabotaged. And that's my maybe conspiracy take. Maybe that I haven't heard anyone really necessarily say that. I think people are so black and white with their approach to it. You either support it or you don't support it. But I think there's nuance to the reason why things are happening the way they are. When he's aligning with people like Ben Shapiro,
Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton agrees with him. Right?
Hillary Clinton literally came out.
CNN News agrees with him.
Yeah.
That's problematic to me because there's an objective to create chaos. And whether you like Trump or not, one thing that can be said, and it holds weight, is the fact that this is definitely going to have a great effect and I say great facetiously, but it's going to have a great effect on his legacy.
I agree.
I think if we don't pull out soon, which I hope that we do, because it's going to be a bloodbath in the midterms, the Republican Party is completely splintering off because of this issue. That's why we're really making a concerted effort to focus on the local stuff, because I think it's going to be a bloodbath at the national level in the midterms.
Me too.
But if he doesn't splinter off from this, the rest of his presidency will be completely engulfed.
For sure. He's going to get impeached. Because if they lose the midterms...
If we lose the midterms,
he's getting impeached.
The next 2 years is all impeachment.
He's impeached.
The year and a half leading up to whoever the next person
100%.
is going to be impeachment.
That's my prediction. If we lose the midterms, he will be impeached.
Kings, impeachment. It's going to be... It's
that's
just
all you're going to see.
Sensationalized garbage.
Go ahead. You got a question, Fabio?
We got a question from Albert Guzman. How do you guys feel this will affect the midterms?
It's going to be It's going to be an absolute bloodbath. Because when you lose Tucker Carlson... When you lose, maybe you don't agree with him, but he brings in voters, he brings in constituents. When you lose an Alex Jones, when you start to splinter off the I don't want to say the far right, but that's the best way to describe it. The far right, awake, America First constituents, they're starting to splinter off, and if they don't participate.
This is the problem.
We already are at a disadvantage in that regard. Democrats have more registered voters. So it's mathematical when it comes to the strategic of politics. That's what people don't get. It's a lot of it is strategy. So from a strategy perspective, it becomes almost impossible, especially based off of historical data from prior administrations. When Republicans win, they typically already lose the midterms. It's just, it's a repeating pattern.
Now with this war. So if you were going to tell me what the midterms would have been tough regardless, you probably would have lost the House and won the Senate before this war.
I agree.
Now I think you're losing both.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless something changes drastically.
In a dramatic fashion. Right. I think we get
this is what it is. This is what it is. This is the main thing. Young men, particularly young voters in particular, but young men in particular, 18 to 29. Okay, they voted for Trump in record numbers last time around. And the reason they did was because no new wars. A lot of it was deportations. A lot of it was the economy, those things. Was he delivering on some of those things? Yes, domestically, for sure he was. But this war, what this war does is it supersedes
everything.
All the domestic agenda now.
Everything.
What are we only talking about? When you look at the news, when you look at every article, what is it about? This war. And it takes the resources and the political capital away from all the domestic stuff now. All the money that was going to be spent domestically is now going to be spent over there. And this is a huge problem. And these kids, these young voters in particular, they're not going to vote Democrat. They're just not going to vote.
They're not going to show up.
They're not going to show up to vote.
Yeah.
If you don't get those kids back on your side, it's over.
Which is going to be a major tragedy because Democrats are more wackadoodle than they've ever been. And on top of it, they have vengeance in their heart. So where things go, I think, I don't know. So the best way to say it is history repeats itself. So you think Iraq war and then housing crisis, and then you think the 8 years of Obama. Unfortunately, I think that we're on a very similar trajectory where there's going to be a perversion of culture, because that's what Democrats' main focus is culture. And I think that without some major change, Iran is the first catalyst to the trickle-down effect of a repeated cycle with more vengeance and more vitriol and more sensationalized politics, and honestly, us being in a worse financial position for the average American.
That's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to touch on.
For the average American.
That's what I wanted to touch on. He mentioned,
post-COVID.
08, 07, 06, like the Iraq war, and then the economic down spiral that it was, right?
Correct.
We're in a worse spot now. Like leading up to the war.
People still buy houses then.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like we're in a worse spot now than we were then. Like the trajectory of the way we were turning, because those 4 years of Biden, and then even Trump was doing good things 2016, and then COVID happened 2020. It messed a lot of things up, right? But then previously you had what? Obama twice, and then Bush. Like this trajectory of where we're going now is actually worse than what we were then. So like there's kids who have no hope now. No one could afford a house even before this Iran war. Trump was supposed to get that back on track, and now we're going to war. Listen, let me explain something to you. When you go to war and when you see these gas prices rising, first of all, more people care about gas prices than they do about it. Most people in America can't even put Iran on a map, unfortunately. Okay? You care more about shit that's happening here. Your gas prices, all those type of things, right? So what you don't understand, when gas rises, that's not the only thing that rises, right? Energy is what creates everything. When your energy prices increase, now it's gonna be more expensive for food. It's more expensive to buy, to make clothes. It's more expensive for literally everything you possibly think of. Fertilizer to make food.
It puts a tax on the whole logistics system.
Exactly. So when you see, we haven't even seen even close. If this war continues, say that we're still in this war in 3 months, midterms are gone. Bloodbath. It's over. No shot. And this comes from someone, I'm an optimist. I'm usually never pessimistic. It takes me a lot to get to that point. But I'm at that point because I see the trajectory of what's going to occur down the road. And it's honest.
Yeah.
It's disheartening for someone like us who are into politics and pay attention to these things. A lot of people just don't pay attention.
Yeah, because people are going to be smacked in the mouth with it. The things that I anticipate without some sort of intervention and not intervening in foreign affairs is the first thing. I mean, I guess it's something that people can level their head off with in a position that you can kind of use as a pinpoint. Bitcoin drops to like 25, 30,000. The housing market completely crashes. And once Democrats are in position, it's just impeachment after impeachment after impeachment. Chaos in the streets, riots, I think become a big part of the opposition party, because at that point they're still opposition, but they will have the vitriol and they will have a little bit of footing to be able to get past the things that they want to get past or block the things that they want to block, which is going to put the whole economy and stymie everything. And I think it's from an economy standpoint and also a cultural standpoint. So all of the ground that was made, which we did start to make some ground. The first year, I think there was some really positive policies put in place. But your taxes going up, and we're not telling you this to scare you, but really our goal is to expand this platform, because at this point, this message needs to get out to everybody. Democrat, Republican. As time goes on, I'm starting to feel like those things are becoming less and less important. It's about common sense and the small group of the minority of people who are bozos, and they just feed into all the nonsense. People that just want to flip the table. But I think the good majority of the people in this country, the people that watch our program, are people that understand the importance of nuance and not getting involved in wars, right? And they just want the same things. Democrat, Republican. My Democratic friends, they do buy into some of the nonsense, but I think that they want the same things that I want. Yeah. They want to be able to buy a house. Agree. They want safety.
I agree.
They want the same exact things. And we really got to figure out a way to get back to that and position ourselves, or at least position our next politician, hopefully, to be somebody who, because post-Trump, this whole thing changes. Post-Trump, we're in a different world in politics, and I'm not quite sure what that looks like yet.
I agree.
To be honest, I'm kind of looking forward to it when it's not as dramatic, it's not as sensationalized, and I think Trump did a great job. Me and Rocco were talking earlier, and he made a great point. I think what Trump did, and the thing that we can never take away from him, is he pulled back the veil
100%.
To make, whether you like him or you dislike him, he made people get involved and pay attention to politics.
Definitely.
And that testament is true for me too.
100%.
Before 2016, I voted and I participated and I paid attention here and there, but I didn't know the ins and outs of politics. Once he got involved and I saw the debate with Hillary and Jeb Bush and all those different like pinpoint moments, historic moments, it made me be like, whoa.
Listen.
Like, this is crazy. Wow. Like, to see a politician talk so freely about it,
yeah.
It really opened my eyes to like, okay, I can understand it. This is layman's terms. I can
very logical common sense.
It's very logical common sense. Yeah. So post him, I think, I don't know what it looks like, but I know it looks very different.
This is one good thing I will say. I mean, I like Trump. I still do. I mean, despite what's going on right now, I do like him. I appreciate the things he has done. I appreciate, like you said, Trump's the greatest instrument we've ever had in politics.
Yeah.
He got people to pay attention. No, but your average person did not pay attention to politics for Trump. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
They pay attention way more now. Okay, rather negatively
or at least they
positive.
pretend to be.
Yeah.
They
care.
now.
Okay,
yeah.
let's say they care more now, right? They think about things more. At least they question things more for sure, right?
Yep.
Now, the good thing about this is this last coalition. The only good thing about this, like what I will say, is this last coalition that voted Trump in. Young men, young people. Hispanics.
Yep.
You got 50% of the Hispanic vote.
Minority men.
Minority men, period. Okay? Millennials, millennial generation, the Maha moms, right? Make America Healthy Again moms. That coalition, the anti-war, even libertarians, like the anti-war, no war people, right?
Yep. Push the needle.
Right. That coalition is still there. So whoever runs after Trump, okay, if they run on those things and if they're principled people, right, and they're going to stand by those things, they will win.
Yeah.
Republican or Democrat, whatever, but they will win if they run on those things. They'll beat Gavin Newsom, they'll beat Kamala Harris, if they're Republican, they'll beat whoever it is. Okay, because that coalition's still there. Now, will you have to now convince these younger kids even more now than Trump had to? Yes, because they feel like they voted Trump in for those things.
Yeah.
And a lot of those things didn't happen.
Correct.
Unfortunately.
And there's going to be a lot of voters that fall in that category that move the needle, middle of the road voter that's going to feel homeless if we don't get back
100%,
on policy.
yeah.
Because one thing I'll give Democrats, and it's not a good thing, but it's something to be noted, is the fact that they played a very sneaky game from Obama first win till now. They tied their political ramifications into people's identity, right? So they have that ingrained into black people. They have that if you're a gay person, if you're an immigrant. So they have people that will feel like a bad dad or a bad parent. They'll show up no matter what. They'll vote for them no matter what because they feel like they're ingrained within their identity. The Republican side, because we're logical, right? But because it's a common sense perspective, because it's a group of middle class working Americans who are a little more think outside the box, especially that group that we brung in. It's a lot more difficult to win those voters over
100%.
if you don't have a strategic plan.
100%.
You can't say, well, you go to church, you're a Christian. That's not enough.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, you served in the military, you were a cop. That's not enough. They can't say, well, you're from Texas. It's not enough. You're from Florida. It's not enough. We want strategic plans. We want people in place that will stand on their word and do the things that they say. And we have a very small list of things that we want. But we want those things and we won't back down.
And he mentioned, I think it's funny that it's always like Trump, MAGA people are occultists and all that. I think it's opposite.
It's the exact opposite, yeah.
If Joe Biden started this war, or Kamala Harris started this war, no Democrat would dissent against it.
Nope.
None. Zero. You literally are seeing the biggest voices in conservative media disagreeing with this war.
Yeah,
So how are they the cult? That's why I always found strange, right? It's always like, oh, you just believe everything. No, dude, no. Just a lot of the stuff Trump was saying was common sense stuff. What happened? You got another question?
Yeah, we got a question from AP Rose. How do you feel about the new law passed by Trump? Explain how you feel on this situation.
What new law?
Which one
in
specifically?
I'll be right there. AP, which law?
Yeah.
I'll come back to you.
One thing I will disagree. One thing we were talking about RFK earlier. 'Cause I wanted to touch on this. Trump did like that glyphosate. He gave like basically like immunity to a lot of the people that were basically poisoned with glyphosate. I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And I understand RFK. I heard RFK. I forget what podcast he was on. It wasn't Rogan. He was on something recently. I just listened to it. And he was explaining why Trump had to do what he did, because he was basically saying like glyphosate is in like 80% of our food. Like in our, unfortunately it is. Like it's pesticide they spray to grow food. And he said if Trump just took that away, it would immediately cripple. So I get it. But
which we're getting to the point now where like you used to feel that way, and I was like, because I understand the financial implications. Yeah. I'm almost to the point now where crash whatever needs to crash, because that's where we're heading anyway. Crash it, right? Like cancer, or you got to play a little bit more. We're paying more anyway. We're being taxed anyway. Yeah. At this point, I'm getting to the level of like, I don't want to be a flip the table guy, but it's like we need to revamp all of it. Yeah. If something needs to go down so we can rebuild.
What we really need is just the common sense that Trump promised in the election process. Right?
Bring back drain the swamp.
Right. Like term limits with Congress, 80-20 issue.
Yep.
Voter ID, 80-20 issue. Deportations for criminals is 80-20 issue. Mass deportations for anyone here illegal is still like a 60-40 issue when they look at polling. Okay, still a majority issue, right? The Maha stuff, right? Getting poison out of your food, all that type of stuff. 80-20 issues most of the time, right? On all those things. a new thing, AI data. I don't think there should be any AI data centers unless your electricity bill stays the same.
Yeah.
80-20 issue, right? 80-20 issues. If people just, no new wars, 80-20, maybe even 90-10 issue, right? 80-20 issues. Trump ran on all that stuff, and that's why he got the biggest, greatest coalition ever.
Yeah.
So if
More
we just got back
transparency.
to those things, and I'm not saying Trump wasn't doing a lot of those things. He was doing a lot of those things domestically. Okay, he was, for sure. But the war needs to end. The war needs to end. End it however you want to end it. Claim victory. I don't care. Don't put boots on the ground. Get the hell out of there. Come up with some economic deal. I think he wants to literally live off. I think Trump's plan, I'll predict it a little bit, with what's going on now. I think it was to hopefully the Iranian people rise up at first. I think that was the plan, but he sees that's not happening. I think right now what he's going to tell Iran is, listen, we'll lift sanctions off you. Iran's been wanting sanctions lifted off them for decades now. We'll lift economic sanctions off you, okay? But you have to use the dollar.
Yeah.
And you have to cut ties with China, cut ties with China and Russia with certain things. And you have to get on the dollar.
Which I think is the only way that we find any value in it.
Right, that's the only way it brings back
regime
value.
change
Exactly.
to just
to America,
keep beating down and radicalizing
right.
hundreds of thousands of people per day. Like Iran is a different ballgame. Iran is not Iraq.
No.
Iran is not
90 million
Venezuela.
people, huge
It's
terrain.
a big territory that's impossible. I would almost say borderline impossible to really overtake in any kind of way that would be a definitive victory.
Yeah, it would be a suicide mission.
It's just, it's exactly. And their infrastructure and their mechanisms and their tools that they have at their disposal is a lot more than anybody else we've crossed paths
Anyone
with.
in the Middle East we've ever been involved with,
Correct.
They're leaps and bounds ahead of them.
Yeah, which is why we haven't stepped on their territory prior. Did they follow up with the question?
What are your thoughts on a no kings process across America?
I think it's ridiculous, and you know why? Because there's so many bigger, greater issues going on right now. The no kings thing is like, let's go to England and do that, right?
First of all,
I have a problem with it because why not the Epstein files? We could agree on that.
Or why not just war?
If I seen you,
Wait.
why not war?
Why?
It's paid protesting. So I got a problem
when you look at
with it.
polling, almost 80% of people disagree with this war. If the protests were actually real and organic and weren't being paid for and funded in a type of way that are pushing people to do it, they would have happened during this war.
Yeah.
80% of Americans disagree with this war. The only people that agree are really, unfortunately, are like boomers. Really.
Yeah, what happened to the old school hippies is really my question. So if you were outside protesting the war with Iran, okay, no problem. I don't got a problem with that. If you were outside, like it's crazy to see the No Kings protest at the same time as we figure out that a pedophile ring has been having infiltrated our government in some way, and we've had previous politicians, Bill Clinton, right, who's involved with this, and maybe other people involved as well. But definitively, if anybody can be picked out of the group from the Epstein situation, we could say Bill Clinton. We all would agree, Democrats and Republicans, that there's some major issues there. Like, we have proof. He's in photos with P. Diddy t-shirt, with P. Diddy dress shirts on, like at parties, in the pool.
Yeah.
It's no kings to me is just, it's a guise to avoid protesting the things that we really should be focused on.
The craziest thing with the Epstein stuff is 90% of the money, 93% of the money Epstein donated was to Democrats.
Yeah.
Two Democrats, 93%.
Have you seen the texting?
He's one of the biggest. He was texting during Trump's impeachment trial. He was texting the sitting congresswoman, sitting congresswoman, and telling her what to ask Trump.
Yeah.
But you're telling me that he had all this. Listen, the Epstein stuff. I made so many videos on it. We did a whole episode on it. If you want to go back, listen to it. But yeah, go. You got another question?
We got another question. How do you feel about the fact that there's more homeless people in the U.S. that aren't getting any help? What about the disabled veterans who lack health care?
There you go. Well, that's one of the things where when it comes to us being at war, things like that get left by the wayside.
Exactly.
But I think one of the major things, though, is problematic is the fact that these programs are ran by NGOs and they're ran by corruption. So if you look at the per capita that we spend on these programs, New York and California are easy to pick off of the tree because the amount that they spend. So New York, there's a report, and it's self-reported by the state of New York, that they're spending $81,000 per homeless person. $81,000
That's
is
higher than the
more.
average median income in New York City.
There you go. So
they're spending more. So how are these people still homeless is what we're saying.
Transparency. We need to be more transparent with the process, and we need to get the corruption out of it. And there you go. No Kings protest. What do I feel about it? It's ridiculous because $81,000 is being spent per homeless person, and the homeless population is expanding and exploding.
Right, and that's more for your local politicians.
Protest that.
That's more for your local politicians. Like Trump can only do so much about the homeless stuff. The veterans, he could definitely do more. He did a lot of good stuff for vets in his previous administration with the health care and stuff like that. But obviously, we don't want any. I don't think any vet should ever have to be homeless. I think that's like the most insane thing. If you serve this country and sacrifice for this country, the fact that you're homeless, but then again, we'll take in third worlders and other refugees and put them up in hotels and help them economically and subsidize a bunch of things for them. That's totally backwards, and that's the opposite of America First.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's not even a Trump issue. That's been a running issue for 25 years since we got involved in the Middle East. And guess what we did?
Yeah,
we mass imported third worlders. Not even just the United States, the UK, all over England, all over Europe. They're all over the place now because we keep invading these areas. Not even just us, but when you have war, okay, that's really what worries me. Because everyone's like, oh, well, Iran could attack us. Iran could attack us. Okay, whatever.
They don't even have
true.
the
Not even true.
skill set.
I went into it in our previous episode.
Yeah.
Not even true.
It's not even worth talking about because it's impossible. We have the best military.
You know how Iran will attack us? Okay, you just killed
economically.
That now, but I'm talking about long term. You know how they will attack us? What will happen is Democrats will win the midterms. They'll open the borders back up. Okay, guess who's gonna flood into the country? All people from the Middle East. They're gonna flood into the country, right? You're not gonna know who they are because we didn't know who the people were that were coming into the country under Biden, right when the border was open. You're gonna have people that have been radicalized because of what happened with these bombings. They're going to be living amongst us.
Yep.
That's how Iran attacks Americans.
Correct.
Within your own borders. Okay. I'm more concerned about what's happening in America within our own borders. Okay. That's the biggest concern. That's our biggest concern.
Our government,
right?
And with one objective, and it's almost like, how could you even be mad at them? You know what I mean? How could you not understand the perspective of that? It's going to put us on a trajectory of where we're going to have so many people that dislike us, specifically in the Middle East, coming into the country, flooding, and it's just it's worse than war because it's a slow death.
Right.
And I really feel like if there's one thing, just to double back on the question, is that Trump has not done a great job, in my opinion, and it's the thing that I have the most problem with. Honestly, maybe even more than Iran. At this point in the road is the accountability. Why is no one being held accountable? Why are these I see all these statistics. I see them from the States. I see them from private journalists, Nick Shirley. There's one popping up every day. All the fraud, and you hear about it, but I don't ever hear a resolution. I don't ever hear anybody going to jail for it.
Nobody's arrested.
And I don't know what we do to solve homeless crisis, homeless veterans, amongst a plethora of other issues if there's no one being held accountable for it and the door is continuously be open. I don't know what the solution is. It's like if I keep giving you $100 and somebody keeps stealing it from you and we're not handling the person that's taking the money from you, you're going to continue to be without $100.
Right.
It's just simple. So the accountability crisis is the thing that I think is like probably our biggest problem. No one's being held accountable for anything. I agree with you because
if there's no accountability for anything, you're just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, nothing gets solved.
They're going to do it even more at a higher level after we lose the midterms.
Yep.
If we lose the midterms, Trump's impeached. I'm telling you that right now. Okay, borders are going to be open. Okay, they're going to all the good things Trump was doing, executive orders that he signed. Which, let me get to that real quick. He signed executive orders, signed a lot of good things. Our Republican Senate, and Republican House can't even codify the things. That's how useless they are.
Yeah.
The Republican Senate and the Republican House have been completely and utterly useless. Okay? They're supposed to codify the things that the president wants. They haven't done. Dude, we can't even pass voter ID, 80-20 issue. 80-20 issue across all spectrums of race, gender.
And it's still being
debated. We can't even pass that. If we can't pass that, these people... No one should be in office. What is the point of government even existing if you can't pass an 80-20 issue, a simple thing that 80% of Americans all agree on? What is going on?
And the runway to get things passed is coming to a head. I don't see truly how Republicans win the midterms. And like I said, history is not on our side per se when it comes to that in general. Even in the successful campaign where there's been politicians who've had successful runs and done things that were agreeable on both sides. Historically, it's just probably highly unlikely. And I think beyond that, it becomes a bloodbath. That's why we're going to spend a lot of time focusing on local candidates, because there's some people that I think at the state level and county level that have some really good objectives and some really good plans. So we're going to continue to try to focus on that, because I think at the national level is beating a dead horse. I don't know how we overcome that when some of the main proponents for Trump and the people with the platforms, right, the Rogans, all of that stratosphere of people who in my opinion, helped him win over the minorities, the young men, and to get his message out there and galvanize the America First platform are no longer on his side. I don't know how we overcome that. I don't really know if it's necessarily possible, because it's such a thin margin typically. And when it comes to voter registration, we're already at a deficit.
Disadvantage.
Yeah, so it's going to be tough. So I ask you to be mindful, pay attention. Do we have a question?
Another question from AP Rose. I'm not understanding the issue with pay increases and not being to put into effect immediately. As a Commonwealth, we lack in everything.
I agree. I mean, right now we're under Shapiro's leadership. Reiterate the question though one more time.
I'm not understanding the issue with pay increases not being put into effect immediately. As a Commonwealth, we lack in everything.
Pay increase in general? What do you mean, like minimum wage or something? I don't know.
So minimum wage. So that's a good issue to talk about.
By the way, minimum wage in PA is $7.25.
Yeah, which has been that since I got my first job. Yeah. So it's tough. It's a slippery slope. I'm more a proponent for lowering the cost of living, because the thing that you got to realize when minimum wage increases, it's been tried, and it's one of those. It's one of those policies that's like rent control. It sounds good in theory, but the actual ramifications of it. So, for instance, California did it. They bumped it up quite a bit for fast food workers. What that entailed was Carl's Jr. and all those locations laying off a ton of workers. So there's a thin line between making a pay increase. I think $7.25 is far too low. I also think that if you would bump it up to $15, that would have very adverse effects. And the reason why is kind of what happened in California is if you force McDonald's or places like that, really is where it has the biggest effect. Places where it doesn't really make sense to put it up, double it, or put it up to $15, $16, they're just gonna fire a bunch of employees. They're gonna raise the menu prices, and you don't get the result that you were looking for. Essentially what it does is just leads to mass layoffs. I think that there could be definitely...
Cost of living is a way more bigger issue. And
cost
also
of
government spending is the biggest issue.
Correct.
She's also referring to the minimum wage.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I kind of
spending. Government spending is the biggest issue. When your government's taking more money out of your check and you're not seeing any valuable things coming from it, what has gotten better since the government has taken more money out of your check? They take more money out of your check every year, and nothing seems to get better.
Damn sure not the roads.
The roads. Just everything.
So just to double back on that though, so I think the best way I can say it is things like that, or I don't want to call it a psyop, but things like that are the same, have equivalency as the tax the rich. What actually happens when you do those things is the opposite of the result that you were looking for. We've been so trained to be like, well, we need to raise the cost of minimum. No, what we need to do is make it where people who have those kind of jobs can still have a reasonable life. To increase the wages in an unreasonable manner doesn't lead to results.
Yeah, just to speak on the minimum wage jobs are mainly for, they were intended for people that were just getting into the workforce, like high school students, a part-time job, things like that. They weren't really intended to be like a full-time employment job where you support a family on. Now, back in the day, you were making $7.25 and you were able to save money because the cost of living was so low. So the price that you're being paid necessarily isn't the issue. It's the cost of living has skyrocketed while those wages have still stayed the same. So what you want to do is you want the cost of living to actually decrease. You want less taxes to be taken out of your check. You want incentive programs, if anything, for people who are doing the right thing. So like, when you have a family, right? I think a good incentive program, if you want to be America First, I think your first time home, you should get a rebate check back, like maybe like for your down payment or something like that. You know what I mean? Because it's just rewarding you for doing the right thing, right? Your first time home, or like when you have 2 kids or 3 kids, right? You obviously we do that. The child tax credit, things like that. It's pro-growth, pro-America, and pro-family.
Yeah.
Those things I think are more important. So I understand like the whole thing with the minimum wage, but like we said, the cost of living and the government spending is really what matters.
Yeah.
It's really what will
And
make
to
you
say,
live a better life.
What would have a greater effect? Taking 725 to 1025, right? There would be an effect of that, in my opinion, and historically, what would happen would just mass layoffs, hours cuts, because there's a budget that those places have. So think of the places that actually pay 725. It's mostly fast food. That's really the main one that I could think of. Grocery stores probably maybe still umbrellaed under that. If you raise it $3, your hours get cut. They lay you off potentially. The companies are always going to find a way to recoup. They're never going to be at a deficit because they can't operate and make revenue that way. And that's just the nature of supply and demand. Or what would be more beneficial to you is to completely cut off state taxes. Imagine how much money you get back in. So that's really our goal, is to focus on the part that the government can do, not necessarily the government intervening in the private sector. That's just another interventionist tactic that I think will have a negative effect.
You want to know the most pro-growth policy that would literally make the economy skyrocket?
Cut taxes.
Anyone that makes under 150 grand should pay no federal
Zero
income tax.
taxes, yeah.
Okay? If you did that, you would see small businesses open everywhere. You would see the economy flourish, because what do people do when they have more money in your pocket? They either spend it or they create something. Correct. So you're either going to create a business or you're going to spend money. You're going to take your kids to the movies. You're going to buy a new car. You're going to go on vacation more. You're going to do a bunch of things with your family, right?
Yep.
Or for yourself, whatever
It
it may be.
invigorates the economy.
Right. It boosts the economy. Instead, you got those people making 150 grand. They get 40 grand. They pay 40 grand in taxes a year. And where's that money going? To nothing beneficial for the American people. So, and this is one thing I really want to say. The coalition that Trump had coming into this election, this would have put, if we would have just stayed on track and did the things he was doing in the first year, okay, and not go to this war and just stay on track, that coalition of voters would have galvanized and got bigger.
Republicans would have run for the next 10 years.
Maybe even more. Probably 30. Honestly,
30
I'm not even kidding. 30 years. That's what literally what we're looking at. And all these people wanted that voted for this are simple, common sense things. Like I told you, 80-20 issues. The most important thing that they want, right? If you just look at 30 years ago, right? Like you're talking about, she was just talking about the cost of living and minimum wage. If you look at 30 years ago, you had one person working in the home, right? The wife usually stayed home with the kids most of the time, right?
Making less, probably what,
making less money.
Making $725.
Yeah. You had one guy. The husband was probably like a warehouse supervisor or something, right? Not no crazy job. He was supporting a family of 4.
Yeah.
He was. They had 2 cars. They had 2 cars. They were going on vacation every year. That's the American dream. That's what people want. That's all they want. It's very simple. They don't want crazy things for free or all this for free or subsidies and all this stuff. They just want, if I work hard and do the right thing, I'm able to save money, go on vacation with my family, and own a home. It's so simple. Okay, that's what Trump was supposed to bring back with his economic policies. And going to war with Iran doesn't do that. And it really hurts us economically. Like I said, the only good thing I could see the only good thing I could see that brings us to America is if he lifts sanctions and they get on the dollar and we make a deal with their oil, which we don't even need their oil. That's the only way I could see it being America first and bringing some prosperity.
Where it even makes a little bit of sense.
If milk is $6 a gallon and you make $7.25, how does the state of Pennsylvania expect to solve the problems with bigger issues?
Well, there you go, though. Now, that's the question, though. Why is the cost of milk $6? And that doubles back on some of the things that we talked about. You got to lower it. So with politics, with life, we've been so trained to look over here at the shiny object while the actual mechanics is over here. What contributes to milk being $6? What we don't need is government intervention. Milk is $6. Is it the taxes, the cost of it? Is it the cost that it takes to transport it? Is it the policies that farmers are facing and the restrictions or sanctions or not opening things up to give farmers who do that tax credits and benefits? That's where it starts. Milk doesn't become $6 a gallon because Trump is in office or necessarily because Biden is in office. Or milk becomes $6 a gallon because there's some sort of policy or logistics that are leading up to that. And that's what we need. That's the things we need to focus on. I think we've all been trained, Republicans, Democrats alike, to believe that government intervention, and this wasn't true with Republicans in years past, I would think, but I think we've kind of bought into that thought process too, is government intervention leads to, well, why can't the government just throw some money at it and fix things? Or why can't they just
the problem,
force companies to pay to lower the caps? Price capping, rent capping, forcing companies to raise minimum wages, that's not the solution. All that does is trigger a greater increase in the problem.
Yeah.
AP Rose says,
Yeah.
y'all bugging.
But so give us feedback. What is AP Rose?
Oh, y'all digging. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just, my thing is, because I come from a financial background, so in the process of doing that, you always realize that it starts somewhere, and then, so you got to start at the beginning point. Milk being $6 a gallon is a realistic situation. If we go to war with Iran and the cost of fuel becomes skyrocketed,
exactly,
and we're not giving farmers tax credits.
It costs $3 or more to create the milk, and then all of a sudden milk goes to $9 a gallon because energy prices going up. Like I said, it affects the cost of milk. It affects the cost of food. It affects the cost of clothes. It affects the cost of literally everything.
Yeah, we've been housing to think that the increase in prices, another trick, maybe even created by Republicans. I don't know. But another trick is we've been trained to think that an increased cost, no, that's more of a Democrat thing. That's like a communist liberal thought now that I think about it. But we've been trained to think that increase in cost means that there's some guy sitting in a booth just collecting all this money. That is corporate greed. No, the supply and demand system in its true functioning way is based off of, well, people are willing to pay this much, so I'm going to charge a little bit more and I'm going to make a profit. And where I'm going to make my profit is in volume. They don't want to charge you $6 a gallon for milk because they want to make a ton of money. They'd rather charge you $2 and sell a ton and have a continuous flow of revenue that's sustainable and predictable than charge you an unreasonable price. And you know what I mean? It becomes to the point where it's not a predictable market. But because we believe that and we focus so much on, well, it's got to be some guy, and it's the cost to produce it.
Just look at this. Do me a favor. Google this. Google the average grocery store with the profit margin that they make monthly.
Razor.
I think it's like 1 or 2%. It's very little.
Yeah.
It's very, very little. So
correct.
That's
Weiss is not making the kind of money you think.
Right.
Nah, Wegmans maybe.
So you got to just take into account. You got to take into account that when you're thinking about pricing. And I think the worst thing about it is we talked about this. Government takes more money than they ever took before, and none of our lives are better, and they increase it every single year, okay? And it makes no sense because government should be smaller than ever.
Smaller.
Do you know why? Because we have technology now that should make it smaller than ever. You got 40,000 government employees in office that are paper pushers.
That could be all AI.
That could all be all AI
the
technology. And those people could be put into the workforce to either create a business or do other things that actually create wealth. Because at the end of the day, government jobs don't really create wealth, they take wealth.
Correct.
To keep to
by default, by the nature of a
it
government
doesn't actually
job.
create money.
Cost.
It takes taxpayer money to do the job. That's all it is.
We're the production.
Right.
We're the government production.
Exactly.
So I mean,
so
along those lines is another thing that bothers me is that there's being so much pushed into AI, but it's just being implemented in such a simplistic way when that's a perfect opportunity.
That's where
the government should be functioning. And I don't love all of it to be functional, but the production side of the government, this is a great time to implement
that's
your AI.
AI
I
should
really
actually be
be watching fake videos on my Instagram and the nefarious ways in which it's being used, and even the videos with Netanyahu having 6 fingers. I'm gonna call bullshit. I think they are using AI.
I will say this because I know I've been a little bit like super pessimistic on this, particularly even about Trump, but I will say this, Trump, one thing he did do good was the government has shrank. It's the first time the government shrank, I think, in 80 years.
Yeah.
So actually there's less government employees than there's been, okay?
Season 1 was great.
Which is great, right?
Season 1 was great.
Also, net migration, first decrease, I think, in over 60 years. So we've
fentanyl,
fentanyl,
down.
The border, there was no border cut. Like there's been tons of things that he's done, and I hope he continues to do those things. What I'm telling you is this war, if it's not ended soon, he's going to lose the midterms. He's going to get impeached. People are going to lose hope completely, especially young voters. They're looking at this like damn, I thought we were going to get in there. And then when I was able to come up and create a job or create a business, all these things would be starting to flourish. And I think we were on the trajectory of that. I think you were going to start seeing, before this war happened, I think you were going to really start seeing like inflation was stagnant. So that was good. And wages went up a little bit, like the average wage went up a little bit. But I think you were going to start to see, I think you were going to start to see like deflation. I think you were going to start to see massive rate
Interest
cuts.
rates went down,
Yeah, I think you're going to see all that. But this war happened. And now with this war happening, we got to get out of it. Because what we've seen just in this short time of this war happening, everything's skyrocketing in a terrible trajectory. So that's...
And Feds, because where the market is at, Feds are in a position where you can't really warrant rate cuts. Like I would have said that 6 months ago, but I don't think it's even...
You could have... We should have...
I wouldn't necessarily support it. I think they're a little late to the party, but now... Yeah. And one of the things I really fear is this AI bubble, which is stimulating the majority of the stock market. There's so many things that are on the horizon, and AP Rose, you may get your $6 milk because I'm really fearful for the financial ramifications of this war and the magnetic force that a war creates, and especially once Republicans start to lose support, which with the war continuing on is inevitable.
Yes.
The social ramifications, the undoing of everything that has been done in a positive manner, because the number one thing that the Democrats have and the only policy that they really have pushed forward is to oppose Trump. And I think what that looks like once they get a little power in their hands, it's not going to be good for the average American. It's going to be a bloodbath.
I'll tell you this, no politician,
that's the theme word of the day.
No politician, right? Trump's not perfect for sure. Like I said, domestically I agree with 80% of stuff he does. No politician is going to make your life a utopia.
Yeah.
Okay, that's on you. You're supposed to take certain things that they do for you and make your own life better, right? I will tell you, he won't make it a utopia, but his policies were intended to make your life better. Whereas a lot of Democratic policies are intended to make your life a dystopia, not a utopia. Like it's literally like everything that they support is a destructive policy. Honestly,
it's destructive to the family
it's not even
structure.
just Democrats, the neocon Republicans, a lot of the older Republicans, the younger Republicans coming up see things a lot differently. They're more common sense, more logical, and even some Democrats. But you got, their policies. Every Democratic policy
is based off collectivism, which has never worked.
Never worked ever.
Any successful country,
very dystopian.
Yeah, if you don't buy into the American way of life, there's no. It's historic, and I don't care how anybody feels about it. If you look at any country ever in history, right, we could all be a melting pot of different ethnicities, but we all have to buy into one particular culture. That's just the way it works. Yeah. China is successful because they have homogeny. Any country that you think are successful, think to yourself, is it just a coalition of just a whole bunch of just subsets of different cultures and different ideas? And that doesn't work historically ever in history in the world ever. It never did, and it never will. If we don't buy into the American dream, the American way of life, it'll never be hopeful. And the Democrats' whole thought process is very destructive. Yeah, and I think it's rooted in this thought process.
You got a question?
Yeah.
For the viewers that don't know what homogeny is, elaborate on that.
So homogenous culture is what we would call a group, or culturally, it's just one idea, right?
They all agree.
So they all agree.
They're all the same.
It's nuanced in the way you can describe it. People would describe it different. The best example to use is a country like China. But yeah, So homogeny,
and they're all the same race, really, too.
All the same race.
Culture, they all kind of believe in the
religion.
Same thing. Whereas our country, he's trying to say like our country's not like that. You got
it's a melting pot, and I think that worked in our favor for many, many years, right? It brings great food, great music, but there's this perverted democratic mindset of where they want to make it
everyone to think the same, everyone to act the same, everyone to believe in the same.
It's just not realistic. Of when you splinter things off so much, you don't have a country anymore. You just have like I said, just subsets and subcultures. And nothing.
Everyone's divided.
Where people hate America and they come from their country and they never buy into the American way of life. I don't think that you can function. It's one thing. My family is from Trinidad, right? But my grandparents, they came here and they bought into American culture and they bought into the American dream and they were proud to be an American. Where now it's becoming this thing where everyone's coming in, but they have no loyalty to the country. Imagine in war times if everybody from everywhere comes here and I ain't fighting for America, I'm from over here.
Yeah, exactly.
You
I know,
can't
it's
create
scary.
a country like that. Homogeny
It's
is not necessarily, a lot of times can be same race, but really what it is the idea of they buy into the same culture. They buy into the same theme. They buy into the same system.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's religious based too as well.
Right, definitely
But there's a collective thought process. There's collective thoughts and then there's collectivism, which it just doesn't work. And historically, like I said, I can't in my mind think of any time where it's ever. It's Sodom and Gomorrah. It's just completely, it causes things like crime rate and violence. And when you have people come here and some people think, well, I like this dog. He's my pet. I love him. If he dies, I'm gonna cry. And then you have some people coming here, they see him as food, right? Like that's one of the things I can think of where it's like
not the same culture. So
it's
you
not
can't have
the
a
same.
there
has to be.
Right. So real quick on the Iran war, I want to say this too. I'm not a non-interventionalist.
Yeah, close us out with some positivity.
Yeah. I'm not. I don't know if it's too positive, but I'm not a non-interventionalist. Like I'm for wars. Obviously, people attack us. I'm also for wars if it is a benefit to America. Okay, I am right. Like honestly, I'm for taking over Greenland. Maybe not by force, but I'm definitely for getting Greenland because it gives us minerals, different shipping routes, raw materials that would help the economy in America, people in America. You understand? Same with even Canada, dude. I'd be for Canada literally opening the borders, us becoming one country. Because they have tons of raw materials, tons of minerals,
and they
tons
can't
of things
survive
like that.
on their own.
And they have a huge land mass. No, they can't. They have no air force.
Yeah.
They literally can't survive without us at all.
We don't want Iran.
So hey, yeah, exactly. So if we're literally subsidizing you militarily, okay, why not just open your border? We become one country. Russia, if you combine our economies, Russia and China would never be able to compete with us ever economically.
Ever.
If you did that. So I'm for stuff like that. Is it a like far-fetched? Maybe. I don't know if Greenland's really that far-fetched. It may happen eventually. Like I said, I don't agree with taking it by force, but make a deal with them. Those type of things I'm for, right? Things that make America stronger, better economically for the people in America. That's what I care about. So this Iran war, there's no explanation of how this makes America better. They just keep pushing. They were an imminent threat, which then they said, no, well, Israel was going to attack. Yeah. And then we had to attack because then if Israel attacked, they were going to attack our bases.
And there's no pipeline.
So, first of all, Israel
back to America.
Yeah.
On anything. I can't think of one thing that we get benefit from besides switching them to the dollar. When you interjected. Yeah. And I don't even know if that's the goal.
Yeah. First of all, Israel's a client state. They literally have 9 million people. They can't survive without us. We literally subsidize their life, basically.
Healthcare.
So who are they to say we're gonna bomb Iran? And if you know what I mean, so you should back us. And if you don't back us, then Iran's going to attack your bases. What should have happened right there and then should have been like, you don't attack anyone unless we say you could attack them. Because without us, you can literally not survive. That's what
like somebody getting in your car and controlling the aux cord. And
it's like a bad child controlling the parent. That's literally what it's like. A bad child being like, no, I'm not doing that. You're going to do this for me.
Get in my car and control the aux cord, man.
Yeah, like, no,
you can't have it.
No.
Get out the car, buddy.
So I still don't understand the main objective. They keep talking about the nuke. That's not a thing. Stop falling for that propaganda. Now they're talking about, we need to completely put boots on the ground to remove their entire uranium program.
Yeah.
Well, that's a suicide mission. Okay. The only thing, like I said, that I could see us coming out of this with some value is you tell Iran, listen, we'll lift sanctions off you. You give us a percentage of some with the Strait of Hormuz, right? We say we won't. We'll write a peace treaty. We're not allowed to bomb you. We're not allowed to do this. We allow you to have this. You allow us to have this, and you get on the dollar, right? Come up with some economic deal, right? Because going in there, boots on the ground, regime change isn't going to make America better anyway.
Yeah, make it make sense.
It's not going to make America better. So you got to make it make sense to the American public, and this administration has done a terrible job doing that.
Yeah.
They haven't made any sense. They changed their objectives
Season
daily.
1 was great. Season 2, boo.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping we get out of this. We come back full circle. We start getting all these domestic 80-20 freaking issues done that Americans actually care about. All right? So we could get optimistic again.
And there's one thing I want to finish with, right? And it's important, and I'm going to clip this because it's super important to me. There's Jewish people and the religion, and then there's the country of Israel.
Yeah.
They are not the same.
Or the government of Israel.
The people, right? Israel, like, and this one thing people need to understand. I don't know if people know what secular means. Netanyahu is secular. He's not a religious Jew. As well as the majority of the people, which is pretty obvious. Like, if you're able to go bomb,
you're not a religious.
Chances are you're not super religious.
Like
my religious conviction would step in at some point. Even if it was right, they're atheists. They're secular.
Yeah.
So when people conflate the two, we need to make that like that. This is an important message for me to get out to the viewers. Because I think when people think of Israel, they think of, okay, Jewish, and then they think of religious. No, the people in power in Israel are secular, and they run the country. That's equivalent to people who don't like the things that America does, which is okay. That's okay to not like plenty of things that we do, but conflating that and saying, well, you're against Christianity and God.
Or you're anti-American.
I hope that draws the line for people. It's like American politics, Trump, Biden, Kamala Harris, and then Christianity is not the same because American was founded on Christianity.
I'm not. Me criticizing the Israeli government doesn't make me anti-Semitic.
Correct.
It just means that I'm allowed to criticize American government.
And there is no. And furthermore, there's no correlation at all
to the Jewish people.
Zero.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with Jewish people. It's the Israeli government. I criticize North Korea government, what they do. I criticize China's government, what they do. I criticize Cuba's government. I criticize our own government. Doesn't mean I'm anti any of those type of people.
It's like saying, we don't like Mexico, that means we're against Catholics.
Right, that's the most ridiculous argument you could possibly make. And the reason why they make the argument, because they can't debate what's actually going on.
Yeah, and
so it's like, if you question that or you say that, you're anti-Semitic. Because they can't actually debate.
Stop being fooled by that. And viewers, if you don't take anything else from this episode, let that be the point that sticks to your mind. That there's some sort of devious plan and ruse.
It's really to silence you.
It really is a mechanism. Be aware of that, and in the future, be aware of anything that falls within those kind of categories. Yeah. When people start putting religion in with politics and utilizing it as a weapon to
silence you,
to silence opposition, there's a greater war going on. And like I said, I think we're in a time of good versus evil. But just know that. Benjamin Netanyahu does not represent Jewish culture really at all. He utilizes it as a shield to be able to
protect himself.
To protect himself from his secular nuclear ambitions.
I mean, it's
important to know that.
We literally just, if you watch the BB files, I encourage everyone to do it. There was a clip that was from it that literally showed Bibi Netanyahu on camera admitting that he's funded Hamas $30 million a month. Mm-hmm. So obviously he's not a Jewish religious leader. He's using proxies, and he's also using the Jewish religion.
And isn't he Ukrainian?
Poland, I think.
Is he Polish?
I think he's from Poland.
He's from Poland.
His
father's from Poland.
Yeah. So it's but this
which is a whole nother episode.
Yeah. This whole argument of like, you're not allowed to criticize the government of Israel unless you're anti-Semitic is just the most ridiculous argument possible. Yeah. And listen, another argument is that, we had to go to Iran or bomb Iran because they had nukes, so they were going to get nukes. They haven't got a nuke. Whatever. Our own DNI, Department of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard said that, and then Joe Kent, the counterterrorism assistant director, literally resigned because he literally even said they didn't have it, and we went into this war for Israel's benefit. Mm-hmm. That's what he said. This is our own counterterrorism saying that. This isn't me, some regular person saying that. It's him saying that with the intel that we had on America's side. The only people that said they were close to a bomb was Israel's intel, which they've been saying for 40 years. Mm-hmm. So just to keep that in mind. But even so, you don't want them to get a nuke. Okay, North Korea has nukes. Did we go to war? Did we kill Kim Jong-un?
Exactly.
Pakistan has nukes, right? India has, tons of other countries have nukes that are kind of extreme people. You know what I mean?
Whole imminent threat theme
it doesn't mean that you go to war and sacrifice American lives for no benefit to America when the Iran has never attacked us within our own borders in how long? Yes, they fund proxies in the Middle East that have attacked our soldiers when our soldiers are there. So do other countries. We fund proxies to attack other terrorist groups. We funded Al-Qaeda at one point. We funded the Taliban. We funded all these people at some time to fight on our side or against other terrorist groups. We've done that too. So to say Hezbollah does that or Iran does that, yes, I admit it. They do it. It's wrong. It's terrible. I don't agree with anything the Iranian regime does.
It doesn't mean funds to Iraq.
Dude, I don't agree with anything the Iranian regime does. And if you look at it, every time we've got involved, this is my whole problem. Every time we've got involved with the Middle East in a regime change war, it's ended up worse for America. Americans in America. Okay? And even worse for people in the Middle East. They become more radicalized. They're taken over by tribes. They're taken over by a bunch of terrorist organizations. Look at Iraq.
Very impressive.
Look at Iraq. Look at Afghanistan. Look at Yemen. Look at Libya. Dude, they are worse off after this. So how are you going to tell me a country with even a bigger population, 90 million people, it's going to end up better this time? And I get it. They're like, well, last time it was terrible leaders and Trump's different. Okay, whatever. Yeah, you can make the argument. Trump's been pretty good on foreign policy. Trump was so good on foreign policy his first time around, it wasn't even a debate subject in the 2020 debates against Biden. Okay? Because they didn't want to bring it up because what were they going to argue
with? A favorable point for
but
them.
Now this last few months or whatever it's been, it's just completely opposite of what he did in his first term and what he did even the first year with all the peace deals. So, yeah, that's a mouthful. That's a lot of information.
I really hope that people take these points in account. The Democrat and Republicans alike. I hope that people understand, and I think an important part of all of this is the fact that the biggest tragedy really is the fact that the country's going to go back in the hands of Democrats who have obviously no plan. Right? That's kind of the end note of like Republicans started things well and got off track right back to where the swamp starts, you know?
And you notice
it's
all
the biggest tragedy.
All the worst people in government support this.
Yep.
All the worst
Hillary
pundits.
supporting it.
All the
So
worst
like,
pundits. All the people that literally.
Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
What a loser.
The worst people. Yeah.
Ben Shapiro, goofball, nerd, dweeb.
Yeah.
So on that note, listen, we're back at it. We're gonna try to be. With all this going on, I think news is going to move a lot faster. We predicted most of this, but we'll try to keep you up to date as always. So that's a wrap. Bam.
Yep.